What's up guys, it's your boy Dubs. Today I've got a new video in a series I'd like to start, in which I review various hardware I come across either in person or online, whether that be eBay, Amazon, Newegg, or what's that other one called? Never mind. Today I'm going to be doing a review on whether this old Asus X53Z, which has been laying around the house for a good few years before I decided I needed a new laptop a few weeks ago. Since then, I've opened her up, cleaned her out, repasted both the graphics and processor dies, sorry for lack of footage on the teardown, stick her all back together and put a fresh copy of Windows 10 on it. I say fresh, there's some clutter on there from where I've been using it the past couple of weeks, but never mind that. Okay, so first up, the I/O on this device is kinda lacking by today's standards, sporting one USB 3.0 and two USB 2.0 ports, an Ethernet port, both a HDMI and a VGA port, and finally a DVD disk drive. Following up is the keyboard and trackpad. The keys are not well spaced but fairly large, and there is hardly any travel time on pressing the keys, which I like. The trackpad, however, is small for today's standards, but I do like how it has separate mouse buttons, unlike many nowadays which have buttons built into the trackpad. Now this machine is rocking an AMD A6 3420M clocked at 1.5 GHz, an ATI HD 6520G with a core clock of 400 MHz as a graphics chip, paired with 4 GB of DDR3 memory clocked at 1333 MHz, which is upgradable if you see fit. On to using the computer. Starting up the device, you'll see the left hand corner is broken, but don't worry about that, it won't appear in a video capture, and hopefully if you get one of these it won't be the same. The startup is pretty quick, especially regarding the laptop's age, but that could be due to the 120GB SSD I've installed in it. I also want to apologise for the terrible quality. The laptop doesn't actually look like this, but my capture card is kinda bad, and it's stretching a 1024 by 768 resolution to 1920 by 1080, which is what it's outputting. I'm sorry about that. Daily web browsing is pretty fast. I can load YouTube quickly, so let's get into some playback. I've got a video here to stress test it. With stats for nerds on, you can see that at 720p video, playback is perfectly fine. 1080p video playback is also perfectly fine, with no drop frames so far. Moving up to 1440p, the machine struggles to keep up, showing some drop frames here and there, and 4K was completely unplayable. Websites with lots of things going on, like animations or features, like the MSI Afterburner website, the machine does begin to lag behind a little bit, and installing programs on this, it's pretty slow. It took 5 minutes to install MSI Afterburner. Now onto some game benchmarks. Half-Life runs completely maxed out at 100 FPS. For some reason I did try changing the max FPS limit in the console, but it didn't seem to go any higher than this, but I know for a fact it definitely can. Also, any other game built on the original Gold Source engine will be fine to play on this machine. I should also add, I'm playing all of these games with the trackpad built into the laptop, as I'm too lazy to try and find another mouse to plug into the machine. Half-Life 2 performs well, keeping above the 60 FPS limit most of the time, even while in combat. You can see while I'm going up the stairs that it's just skyrocketing to 200 FPS, but does drop down a fair amount when in combat and there's quite a few things going on screen. Serious Sam 2, that stutters around the 50 to 60 FPS mark, remaining playable but slightly jittery in high action-packed battles. Left 4 Dead 2 struggles to stay above 60 FPS, even falling into the 30s at some points. However, it is still playable if you don't mind sub 60 FPS. Onto some emulation now. Everything like Game Boy Advance to PS1 will be fine at 60 FPS, so I'm just going to test out some harder to emulate consoles like Dreamcast and GameCube. Anything later than that, like PS3, Xbox, I'm very doubtful, so I'm not even going to try it. With the Dolphin emulator running Super Mario Sunshine, this graphics chip doesn't support Vulkan or DX12, so I'm stuck using OpenGL as a rendering software, giving back around 20 to 40 FPS. This is not a good playable experience. I do not recommend this laptop if you want to emulate GameCube games. Now on to Marvel vs Capcom 2. using the Redream emulator. This is a notoriously easy game to run for the Dreamcast, but it's given back a good results with a locked 60 FPS. Harder to run 3D games may struggle a little bit, but I didn't have much luck finding the games to test, so mileage may vary with that one. In conclusion, this laptop was never a powerhouse even when it was released. I remember playing Minecraft on this with my sister like 8 years ago. You know, it was never brilliant. I mean, you'd probably get around 50 to 60 FPS with everything on low. That's just my estimation. I can't really remember too well, and I don't really have the time to test it. So this laptop was never a powerhouse, but it can be used for some older games like Half-Life or Serious Sam. I mean, maybe even GTA San Andreas on low settings and maybe a lower resolution. But if you feel like you want to test this, I'm sure you can find this laptop online for about £20 to £30. It's not going to be anywhere near the original price, which was, if I remember right, it was between £200 to £300 when we first bought this laptop. But say you're on a long car journey, which you should not be at the moment, tier 4 everybody, and you want to play some Half-Life, boom, whip out your 10-year-old Acer X53Z and you'll be away in no time. Or maybe not. I wouldn't go out and buy one of these, especially as a gaming rig, but it definitely holds up as a daily driver. I would even use mine more if it didn't have the corner missing. Now, I'm off, so see ya.